Hey guys, welcome to this TGIF January 7th, 2022 edition of Topics on My Mind. I know that I said in one of my channel updates that I would try to do a live one this past Monday, but just didn't get to it. And then of course I had my job interview yesterday, which again I think is going to get me into Rite Aid, hopefully. I still got to wait for a second call to come in for a second interview. And if that happens, that's a good sign. I am still considering doing an apology letter to Walmart and sending that out, both to the store and to the region and to anybody else that I could try to talk to see if maybe they can lift the banishment, if you will, that they have on me, being hired again so I can get back in there. I'm still considering that. I'm looking into other places as well, but right now, it looks like Rite Aid might be the perfect fit for me because it is like a miniature Walmart in a sense. I don't know, the lady that interviewed me took that as a compliment or what. I think she did, but because I think when you look at how it's designed, what it sells, it feels very, very much like a miniature Walmart, if you catch my drift. But anyway, yeah, I was going to, like I said, plan to do a live stream on Topics on My Mind this past Monday, but it just didn't happen. You could consider this being live to an extent, seeing as though it's going to be premiered. It's going to be on the premiere option, so that way if you want to chat in the live chat, you could still do that. It just won't be like live. Well, I'll be like, ooh, so and so said this, it'll just be like, basically it'll just be like interactive, like if I want to pop in, I might say something and all that, but that's about it. So something around that lines. But yeah, that's why I haven't done a Topics on My Mind, for most of this week so far till now, because, some other things have been going on, and also the fact that, I just forgot to do it. Just really forgot to, go out and do it, if you know what I mean. With that said, there are plans that could be coming into fruition real soon. I don't think it'll interfere with me doing videos on camera or anything, but the speaking might be a little off because of course when they shoot you up in the mouth and everything to extract and all that, you kind of get numb for a bit and you have to let that swelling go down before you could speak again and stuff. And what I'm talking about is eventually I'm going to be filling out this form here for the down the line for the Smile Shine dentist, in which my sister goes to in Patterson, to try to finally get this addressed, finally get this looked at. And if I can't do that, then I'm going to look into what's known as the Instant Smile. Now, my sister did give me something in this. This is a bag she gave me it in. I tried looking it up by the UPC code. I couldn't find anything, but that's mainly what she gave me. And I tried everything under the sun to make it work. I mean, I don't know if these little beads here are meant to go on the teeth and then melt into a film or something like that you fit on your teeth. I don't really know. I know that the Instant Smile, from what they demonstrated so far, is more like even if you have issues, it'll fit, so you'll have something temporarily. So that might be something I look into in the future, but also the fact that, like I said, one of the things that I'm planning to do eventually is to go through the Smile Shine and get and go that route, get it taken care of. The reason mainly is because I got 2 weddings coming up this year. One, of course, is my oldest niece, and that's supposed to be around the fall, but maybe before that's going to be my oldest nephew. So it's gonna be like a big year for weddings when it comes to our family, if you catch my drift. But yeah, that's what I plan to do there down the line. But right now, I'm perfectly fine with the way I am. I mean, I know people would come out and say, well, you need to get your teeth fixed, you need to get that fixed. I'm fine the way I am. I know I got to get it addressed. I know I got to get it taken care of eventually. But here's the thing. It took my dad a while before he finally got his thing taken care of. He finally got his teeth addressed and everything. Thank God for that. Because he, like me, was reluctant. and I also worked with people at Walmart that had, teeth issues that you can kind of tell that they need to get it fixed too, but, nobody's really said anything about them because, there's that old saying that beauty is, that basically beauty resides within and not without. So in other words, it's more about who you are inside instead of what you look like sometimes. So, I kind of go by that philosophy that, as long as I'm breathing, as long as I'm able to eat and drink, get up every morning by the grace of God and stuff, and, just be myself, that's better than anything, because we're always going to, go through some kind of, change in our life. We're always going to go through, situations in our lives to where we have to, we have to address this issue eventually down the line. Like my mom, she has, crooked toes, if you will, her crooked, big toe and everything going over her secondary toe on one of her feet. And, my sisters have always kind of pointed that out, like, you need to get that fixed. And my mom's like, well, I don't need to really get it fixed and everything. But, eventually she knows she's going to have to. But the reason my mom doesn't, doesn't, put herself into a hurry ship, if you will, to get it done is because she goes by that philosophy of, hey, I'm beautiful the way I am. I'm good the way I am, and people accept me for that. And I go by that same philosophy too. I mean, I know eventually I got to get my teeth fixed, and there's no doubt about it. But like I said, as long as I'm waking up, breathing every morning, breathing, eating, drinking, and able to enjoy the day and, enjoy life, then, that's all that really matters. That's all that really matters. I mean, I understand people want me to get my teeth taken care of and stuff, just like they want my mom to get her toes taken care of and stuff. But, it takes time. It takes time, and I think basically the ultimate goal is just to accept people for who they are. Don't try to push them into being something that they're not until they are ready to do it. Because the more you push them, the more you push them to try to be something that you want them to be, or push them into something that you want them to do, the more you push, the more you're pushing them, the more you're pushing them away from it, the more you're making them more resentful towards it. If you catch my drift, if you catch my drift there. But yeah, eventually, I printed these out, like I said, and eventually I'm going to fill it out, and I'm going to, get it taken care of, down the line. It just takes time. And right now, with everything going the way they are, depending on what you believe, it might be a little harder to do. Who knows? Because offices may end up being temporarily shut down, and by that happening, many appointments could get canceled. Who knows? Not saying that's going to happen, but it's a possibility. But besides that, I also want to come on here before we get into the topics. I also want to plug a couple of things that I want you guys to look into. One of them is the Metamorphosized to Malleability series. As we speak, the 100th and the 197th, I should say, the 197th shift, chapter, if you will, of the story, has been uploaded by Jackie Lador, aka Michelle. She recently uploaded, like I say, the 197th part of it, and she is close. She is 3 parts away from 200. Now, I don't know exactly what 200 is going to be or anything. People are, I'm assuming, and others that follow this are assuming the same thing, that the 200th one might be the wedding between Crystal and Briella. Not saying that's going to be the case, but, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, but the recent one that she put up, like I said, as of today, as of 3 hours ago Pacific time, because right now it's 4:43, so she put this up about 1:43. Like I said, she is, the most recent one is called Ruth. It's called Aggressive Negotiations. Basically, they're trying to wrap up this whole Zeppmeiler or whatever the antagonist's name was that got killed off and everything. They're trying to wrap up his story arc and everything to try to get us to the next chapter and everything, or the next step in this entire series. And like I said, I think I'm assuming what's going to happen is 200 is going to be the wedding. At least I think that's what it's going to be. And then we might get like a little side story, like a 200 shift part B, or 200 shift point 5 or whatever, because Michelle has been known to do this. She's been known to do these additional shifts when it comes to anniversary chapters. Like, I think she did one for the 150th shift, I believe. I think she did it for that, as well as 175. I have to go back and look. Here. Let me check here. I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. Let me check. Yeah, she did. She did a follow-up. She did a follow-up to it. She did a special, basically. She did a special, if you will, that followed it up. And this was back in January of last year. Actually, it's going to be a year once she gets up to the next chapter. Because right now, like I said, she just released 197. Next week should be 198. And then the week of the 1 year anniversary of the special that followed, 150, will be 199. So if things go correctly, as I'm assuming they will, right now we're looking at the 13th or the 14th for 198, and then the 20th or 21st for 199. And then about a year later, which would be, the 25th of this year, will be a Tuesday. So about the 27th or the 28th, we'll be looking at issue 200, which kind of is ironic, since that it's going to be happening within a year span of 150. So that's good timing. And 150 was basically... let me see what it was here. Basically, I think I know what it was. Let me make sure. Oh yeah, 150 was basically where Briella and Crystal decided to play a little game on Ilana, or Alane, if you will, Alane. They decided to play a little game to where, because Briella at this time had developed her powers to the point that she could not only have a full body functioning and everything and still be fully in control of her powers with that body, but she could also provide, outfits for Crystal and Ilana and whatever else, and also provide, whatever else is needed. She's become that evolved. So basically what happened in 150 about a year ago is, in the story, Briella and Crystal decided to play a little bit of a prank, a game with Ilana, by basically, keeping Crystal in a Felicia cosplay outfit that Briella had made for her, and then Briella turning herself into an exact copy of that cosplay to try to fool Ilana by basically mimicking each other's movements. Like, both of them would talk at the same time. They would mimic each other's movements to try to throw her off and stuff like that. So you can only wonder what the 200th one will be like within a couple of weeks to celebrate the one year anniversary since 150. Again, like I said, people are assuming it's going to probably be the wedding. And if it is, we can expect maybe a 0.5 or a special follow-up to that, to really kind of give us more of an NFSW-like conclusion to, let's say, the honeymoon and all that between the two. And we'll see what happens. We'll see if she goes in that direction. I mean, I know that a lot of fans, like myself, would hope maybe Briella comes up with something that temporarily gives Crystal the same abilities. And that could be something, but we'll see. I mean, I know I did a story, kind of a side story to tie into that, you know, which I'm sure Michelle has checked out, and you know, to kind of, you know, give us an idea of what that would be like. But we'll see what happens. Speaking of stories, there is one that I am currently trying to work on, and it's based around minor dash alterations, the model and symbiote story series. Now, it's been a while, I mean a long while basically, since Minor Dash Alterations has done anything with their series, from what I understand. Basically what I'm assuming is life probably interfered, like, you know, maybe life personally interfered and they can't, you know, do stuff anymore. You know, they can't really focus on doing things anymore. So, you know, they've decided to kind of like put the storyline, you know, on hold, if you will. And one of the last chapters that they did was part 4. And at the end of part 4, basically one of the friends got a little angry with the main character and the symbiont that had bonded with her. And that, you know, she basically told a friend, hey, you need to, you know, be in control of your actions. You need to control this thing, which probably has the best intentions, before it controls you. Now, me, on the other hand, you know, I saw this and I'm like, okay, that's kind of a bittersweet, kind of, you know, disheartening, bittersweet kind of way to end the story. But the way the story ended, in a way, it almost sounds like the character Erin was not going to leave her friend behind. Like, she's just stopping, and then that's how the story ends. I'm assuming what Minor wanted to do as a conclusion was to have, well, not a conclusion, but for the next part, was to have her go back to her and maybe, you know, apologize for getting mad at her and kind of understanding what, you know, she wanted to do. And I'm assuming maybe part of the plan was that she would allow that what Minor wanted to do, you know, in the story, part of the plan was not only have Erin go back to her friend, apologize for getting angry, but have her understand why she got angry. But I could also see maybe that one of the other plans he wanted to do in the story, maybe, I'm assuming, was he was going to have Erin be like, okay, I'll let you be my suit. I'll let you and this friend of yours be my suit. Be my clothing, if you will, but don't do anything beyond that. In other words, like, limit them to, hey, you can mimic my clothes, you can be a shirt for me, you can be pants for me, you can be a jacket for me, but don't go any further than that. And that's what I'm assuming he was planning to do, what Minor Dash Alterations was planning to do. Like, Erin would relent, give him that opportunity, but basically say, hey, the limit is you can't go any further than just mimicking my clothes, and that's it. Me, on the other hand, though, you know, I saw an opportunity. I'm like, you know what? You know, this story, you know, the way it went sounded okay, especially the way it kind of concludes with the cliffhanger. But, you know, to me, I was like, nah, I don't see that. You know, honestly, I see something different. You know, I see somebody that, even though she, in the original story, is trying to be like, basically be like, look, I'm straight and everything. I see someone, because I've seen it a lot in other fictional stories similar to this, that would actually give in and be like, you know what, I'm actually liking this. I actually like what you're doing. I enjoy it. And I could see a character like Erin giving in and saying, hey, let's go back to my place and really have some fun. And that's kind of what, you know, kind of what I'm looking at here, and that's kind of what I have been trying to do. And the last thing I wrote in was, you know, she had agreed to do that, and that Nyla, that's the girl's name, her friend's name, you know, was happy to, you know, be able to, you know, hear that, because that's all she wanted to hear. And the plan, I think, was for them to envelop her, cover her completely, and then do something that really even Erin wouldn't be able to explain, because she's not infected by it, but she's just covered in it, you know, enveloped, if you will. But yeah, I'm still working on that as part of a side story, if you will, you know, kind of like an alternate version of the direction of part 4. I call it part 4.5, if you will. So, you know, it's a different take of, you know, how that series, how that chapter would conclude. And if Minor Dash Alterations still wants to work on it and he sees this, you know, hopefully Minor will be like, you know, that is a good direction to probably take. Maybe I could do 2 different versions, like the version I want to do, and can continue the version this person has decided to go with. But we'll see. The last time I checked, Minor appeared on a website called Charu or something like that. It's kind of like writing.com's website where it's interactive, but he hasn't been heard from or seen from since. So I'm guessing he's taking a break, or maybe, you know, like personal life because of what's been going on finally got to him, and he's like, you know what, life's more important than doing this. So, you know, we'll see whether or not he shows back up. But that's up to Minor. But right now, as I said in one video about last year, I think it's time for people like me and others to look at a story series like what he's done with the Demonica series and with the, you know, Model and Symbiont series, and, you know, pick up that slack and be like, okay, if he's not going to finish it, you know, because of, you know, personal issues and stuff like that, we're going to finish it for him. And that's basically the plan. That is basically my plan, to at least try to finish this part in an alternate way for Minor. But speaking, I should say, about you know, this video. Speaking, by the way, of this video, because I'm sure you're listening and thinking, okay, this is a topics on my mind video, right? Where's the topics? Well, speaking of said topics, and I know that was kind of an abrupt, what's the word? Segue. That was an abrupt segue, like, whoa, where did this suddenly come from, you know? Speaking of the topics, we have them right here. And the topics that we are going to discuss are: 1. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Seasons 1 to 8 to remain on Netflix, and episodes showing up on YouTube. We'll get into that. Number 2, we'll talk about the CW network up for sale. That's right, the CW is up for sale. Number 3, we'll talk about Disney and Pixar's Turning Red, heading to Disney Plus instead of cinemas. Number 5, we'll talk about Hasbro naming a new president in Chris Koch, yes, that is his name, and announcing they will not attend the New York City Toy Fair this year. And number 6, we are going to talk about the fact of our after-hour films and series on life support on premium cable channels and on-demand pay-per-view. So yeah, those are the topics we are going to discuss, if you will. So get ready, guys. Sit back, relax, and let's get ready for some topics. Alright, guys, let's start off with topic number 1. Topic number 1 being My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Seasons 1 to 8 to remain on Netflix and episodes showing up on YouTube. Okay, so what that topic is about is real simple. Last year, word got around that at the end of 2021, which was New Year's Eve, that would be the last day that specials like Forgotten Friendship and Best Gift Ever, and I think Roller Coaster of Friendship would be leaving Netflix. Well, thankfully, people like me have copies of those specials, you know, available to us through DVD or, you know, digital media, stuff like that. But yeah, it was announced that those specials would be leaving Netflix, and they did. But then word got out that the first 8 seasons of Friendship is Magic were also going to be leaving Netflix at the end of this month. Well, apparently, according to Equestria Daily, and others have spoke about this as well, the notification which usually shows up, you know, at the beginning of every Netflix show that you watch. You know, it shows up at the beginning of every Netflix show you watch, okay? Especially if that show is on the verge of being removed. It always shows up, it tells you that as you're watching it or as you're getting ready to watch it, that it's going to leave at this time, on this day, and everything. Well, apparently, unless they updated it, apparently, that I should say will not be the case if my computer allows me to, scroll down. My computer's going through one of those things to where when you pause an update, it's like the computer or PC is like, oh, you want to pause updates? Okay, we'll make it difficult for you until you do the updates. But yeah. Oh, and also it's got to do an advertisement at the end, if you will, a T-Mobile advertisement. Go figure. But yeah, basically, from what I understand, it says here, and this is according to Question Daily, Netflix no longer showing a last day to watch notice on Friendship is Magic. This is what they say, and I quote. This is what they reported, and I quote. In a twist of positive good news concerning the Netflix FIM saga, it appears that the last day to watch tag has disappeared from the show over on the streaming service. If true, this could very well mean that Friendship is Magic is here to stay, at least for now, on Netflix. Good news for those who want to keep watching the show, either for the first time or for a rewatch. Keep your fingers crossed, this is the case. And basically, what they're saying there is we have been here, basically fans like myself have been here before with, Netflix, announcing, oh, we're going to take off Friendship is Magic, and then eventually, come to some kind of agreement or extension, if you will, to keep it on there. Now, what's funny about this is that there's a site, according to Netflix, not Netflix, but according to Question Daily, called What's on Netflix or something like that, or What's Leaving Netflix, that had listed Friendship is Magic as one of the shows that would be leaving. Well, apparently that's not the case. And either somebody heard wrong about, Friendship is Magic being one of the shows, or they thought it was, and what they were actually hearing was, news of other maybe Equestria Girl specials and stuff leaving. And it wasn't going to be Friendship is Magic. Or, on the other hand, it could have been just somebody that doesn't like Friendship is Magic and probably put it out there to troll people because, they feel like, hey, it's overstayed its welcome, it needs to go. But here's the thing. I think what Netflix is realizing is if you're going to promote Generation 5, and Generation 5 is going to, talk about and allude to and reference, especially in the movie, the Generation 4 series, then you need to have the Generation 4 series there to kind of help go along with that, to help coincide with that. So that basically is why I think Friendship is Magic, is remaining. I think a deal was made, or someone had made a mistake sending out the information, or somebody just doesn't like the show and wants it gone, so that's why they listed it on there, even though they knew it probably wouldn't leave. But I also think Netflix is realizing, hey, we got this new new generation of MLP that does connect with G4, and it doesn't make sense if G4 is not here and it's connecting to it. So that's why I think Friendship is Magic is staying. Basically because of any one of those reasons, number of reasons I should say. Now, what's interesting too is after this announcement was made, if you will, announcement was made, not just for Best Gift Ever and Roller Coaster of Friendship and all that, and other specials, as well as the series. But what happened is basically I started noticing, and I think it was a little before this too, I started noticing several channels on the YT uploading or basically making public now episodes we had not seen. we had not seen, on YouTube, unless they'd be on possibly the official YouTube page. But now we were seeing them. We were seeing Rainbow Road Trip, that special. We were seeing Best Gift Ever. I think we've seen a few Christian Girl stuff, on there, especially on the official page. As well as we're seeing episodes. Yeah, we're seeing episodes show up there as well on various channels. And my assumption as to why that's happening is because basically the people out there, the fans that are doing this, the channel users and all that are part of the fandom, they're probably not too sure exactly, what the future holds, like when it comes to Netflix or any other place. So they're pretty much taking all the episodes that they probably had to make private or unlist or whatever, and they're saying, hey, let's make them public. Let's have people be able to go out and see them, be able to enjoy them, and go from there and see what happens. So, yeah, if you can't get your if you can't get your fix of Best Gift Ever or Forgotten Friendship on Netflix right now, there's a good chance you go to YouTube and you'll probably find it there without any problem. The only issue I think these people would have with putting these episodes on their channel is they can't monetize these videos because that's not their that's not their property or anything like that. They're just basically the silver lining is they're able to showcase it for everybody to see. They just can't make money, and I think they're realizing, hey, as long as we get to showcase it to people, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. So yeah, basically, yeah, you got, two ways to watch the show now. Not just, with it remaining on Netflix, but if, it does leave Netflix in the future, which it's still a possibility, they could turn around and change their mind, especially when it comes to putting more focus on G5. You do now have YouTube for the time being, as well as some other outlets to check it out and everything. But again, this is where someone like Rodimus Primal said in his recent video why he's still an advocate for physical media. It's because it's because of the fact that with shows like some of the Transformers shows leaving, except for War for Cybertron, that you're always going to have the disc on you that you could pop in at any time. And that's why a lot of people, like myself, went out and recorded the specials when we did, or burned them to DVD when we did, because we know there's a good chance the streaming services they would be on won't have them anymore in the future, but we'll always have them no matter what. So there you go. But yeah, it seems that the show is going to remain on Netflix. Seasons 1 to 8 is going to remain on Netflix, with season 9 on Hulu right now, along with Pony Life. And and if you can't get your fix on Hulu, you can get your fix on YouTube. So yeah, MLP FIM's remaining on Netflix, and if you can't get your fix there, you can get it on YouTube, believe it or not, through various channels. Hey guys, let's go on to topic number 2. Yes, topic number 2, and that is the CW network up for sale. That's right. And apparently that is true. It seems that Warner Bros. And Viacom they want to cut their losses a little bit. Now, what's interesting though is both Viacom and the WB are still going to keep some stock, are going to keep some interest in the network, but they're selling it apparently to a company called Nexstar, and Nexstar apparently is a syndicated service is basically a syndicated service company of channels that broadcast the majority of the CW's programming. So by extension, by offering to sell the CW to them, a majority of the CW to them, it basically not only gets them some money in return to the sale, and allows them to keep a little bit of stock and interest and investment in the network, as well as basically keep some of the shows they have on there running still. But it also basically takes some burden off of them, because apparently the CW hasn't been doing so well very profitably. Even though it has been making money, it hasn't been making the money the way that Warner Brothers and Viacom have been wanting it to. So now they're like, well, we still want to keep our shows on there. We still want to keep some kind of investment and interest in it. So they pretty much figure, well, if we're going to do this, we need to basically go the route out of selling it, but keeping a part of us, in it, if you know what I mean. Now, the question obviously gets raised that with this sale, potentially to Nexstar, who would have a majority of control, although part of the deal would allow, like I said, would allow basically the CW and Viacom shows to remain. The question obviously is, what happens to some of these CW shows like Batwoman, the Arrowverse, Riverdale? What happens to them? Well, my assumption is, since we have HBO Max, and since the Discovery merger is going to be making the streaming service a much bigger platform to an extent, I'm assuming Riverdale is going to end up on HBO Max very soon, as well as a lot of the DC shows. Not just in repeats, to where you can watch them at any time, but I've got a feeling a lot of new episodes, new seasons are going to be exclusive to the services. And what that does in the future is it frees up the CW for whatever Nexstar wants to put on there. Because Nexstar, no doubt, would be able to make deals with any other, I guess you could say, studio or company, if you will, to get stuff on there, expand a little more, and just go from there. We know that right now, in the works, along with Viacom, to help promote the new WoW Superheroes series, the new Women of Wrestling Superhero series, by showing encores of it on their YouTube page, I believe, to kind of get people ready for it. So there's that. But besides WoW being possibly part of the new lineup of shows, the question is, what else could they do? Well, like I said, they are going to be keeping some of these shows because WB and Viacom are going to be keeping some kind of investment in there, some interest in there, to allow these shows to still be broadcast. But I think very soon, over time, like within the next couple of years, in my opinion, like I said, some of those shows could end up exclusively on the streaming services and everything down the line. New seasons, new episodes, maybe movies based on the shows, stuff like that. So I could see that potentially happening, and I think those at Warner Brothers, those at Viacom realize that as well. So don't be surprised that within the next year or so, it gets announced that Riverdale, some of the DC shows are going to be moving exclusively over to the HBO Max, Discovery, basically the Warner Media Discovery HBO Max streaming service. Do not be surprised if you get that announcement in the future, because if they're going to be combining both elements of both services, together as one, thus eliminating possibly Discovery Plus, in my opinion, which I think is going to be the lesser of the two that survives. If they're going to combine all their elements into one, then they're going to want more programming to really attract people. And Riverdale and a lot of the DC shows, the Arrowverse, the Flashverse, whatever you want to call it, I think are going to play a significant role in that and making that happen by moving exclusively over there in the future. Thus, like I said, allowing the CW and Nexstar to have, allowing Nexstar through the CW to have more room to get more newer shows, more exclusive shows on there that are not totally connected to the WB or Viacom by extension. So, yeah, it seems that the CW is soon going to be a Nexstar company, and that for at least the time being, I would assume the next few years or so, maybe less, that WB and Viacom are going to have a bit of a stake in it, with some of those shows and programming still being part of it. But I truly believe over time, and this is just an opinion, I truly believe over time those shows will migrate from the CW over to the streaming service, which is right now known as HBO Max, in the near future after, let's say, the merger with Discovery and all that goes down later this year. But yeah, that's what's going on with the CW, and we'll just have to see what happens next. Alright, our next topic. Disney and Pixar's turning red, heading to Disney Plus instead of cinemas? Well, that seems to be the case. It seems that Disney once again has put the screws, if you will, and my finger just hit the mic as I'm trying to check something there. But yeah, it seems Disney has once again put the screws to Pixar. Now, Disney does own Pixar, but they do act like their own entity, except Disney is their main provider. And yeah, they've put the screws to Pixar again, apparently, because one of the more anticipated animated films of the year, Turning Red, which is about a young teenage girl who goes through a unique transformation. Basically, when she gets angry and aggressive, she turns into a big red panda. So, and apparently it's something that's been a tradition or something that happens, every generation in her family. And now, she's one of the few in between generations that, is going through it. But yeah, everybody was looking forward to seeing this on the big screen, and apparently Disney has decided, man, hold up, nope, not so fast. You know what? Let's cut all losses. Turning Red, you're going to Disney Plus. And obviously, this has gotten a lot of people upset. I know that John Campea, he's probably heard about this, and he's going to probably say something tomorrow, if not doing a companion video. He's going to say something about this, because it's one of those films, like I said, that you would expect to experience in theaters, seeing as though it is basically visually, it's basically a visual spectacle that you have to see on the big screen to really enjoy. Now, could it still go to cinemas? Absolutely. I think if there's enough backlash aimed towards it, and if those in Pixar speak up, Disney could end up changing their mind and saying, you know what, let's not do that, let's go here. Now, some people will blame Bob Chapek, the new guy one of the new people in charge, but he's not the CEO. Remember, they thought it was going to be him. It turned out to be somebody else. I can't think of her name right now. But I got a feeling if word gets to her, she's going to be like, no, we're not doing that. It's supposed to go to theaters. Put it to theaters. So I don't expect Turning Red, basically its destination to Disney Plus to last much longer. I think what's going to happen is, because take a look at the timing, all right? The movie's not coming out for the next several months, right? Look at the timing. There's enough time right now for the backlash to be heard through people that working at Pixar, worked on the film, and even those at Disney, and I think even the new person in charge at Disney to say, nope, we're not doing that, it's going to cinemas. So I would not worry too much about it. I would expect Disney Plus, they'll get it, but they won't get it, the way people are thinking they're going to get it. They'll get it, 45 days after, and that's it. But right now, it seems, unless things do change, it looks like Disney Plus is going to be its destination, but I don't think it will be. I think, honestly, that there's going to be enough backlash aimed towards this decision that the new head of Disney, the one above Bob Chapek, is going to be like, nope, we're not doing that. Put it in theaters. That was the original plan. Let's stick to it. But yeah, right now, it seems, according to various sources, it's heading to Disney Plus. But I don't think we have to worry too much because we still got time ahead of its release for things to change. And I expect an announcement to be made soon down the line where Turning Red will basically go from being a Disney Plus exclusive movie back to what it was originally, a cinema movie. So I do expect that to happen, and I wouldn't worry too much about it. Alright guys, number 4 on this list is WWE trying to forge its own identity with NXT 2.0. Now, the reason I asked that question here on Topics on My Mind is, as we saw for the past several months, and as we saw mostly this Tuesday at New Year's Evil, it seems that WWE, mostly those, in WWE, are trying to, forge their own identity when it comes to developing new stars within their NXT system. We saw this culminate with Braun Breaker. That's Braun Breaker with 2 Ks, whose real name is Rex Steiner, the son of Rick Steiner, become NXT champion over Tommaso Ciampa. Now, this was also kind of followed up by the fact that a day or so later, we had several releases behind the scenes and somewhat talent-wise being let go. One of the more notable out of the backstage people was William Regal, along with Road Dogg, Scott Armstrong, and just to name a few. And then you had Timothy, talent-wise, you had Timothy Thatcher, who also served a bit as a trainer, I think. You had, Danny Burch get released, I believe, and Allison Danger, she got released. And then recently another one that got released, a big one, was Samoa Joe, who didn't even last a year upon being brought back by Triple H upon his initial release, and Triple H saved him by getting him back, putting him on NXT. Samoa Joe is now once again released. And the thing about Samoa Joe's release is nobody knows what his status is. They don't know if he's a 90-day person, if he's a 30-day person, if he can automatically compete right away because he was behind the scenes. No one really knows. But if we know WWE from our own point of view, our own opinions, they will do what they can to prevent someone like Samoa Joe from automatically going over to a place like AEW and competing, just so that they don't have to, basically basically end up having egg on their face for letting this guy go. So I don't expect Joe to automatically go to AEW just yet, or Impact or New Japan just yet. I expect him to take a break. I expect, doctors to reevaluate him to see if there is any issue with him that WWE doctors said there was, and just go from there. But yeah, it does look like what WWE is trying to do through this new NXT 2.0 deal. Sorry about that. Like I said, basically it does, it seems like WWE, is trying to forge their own identity with this NXT 2.0. And the reason I say that is because a lot of the men and women they now are focusing on, don't really have extensive wrestling backgrounds. They have athletic backgrounds, but not extensive ones. And WWE's been known in the past, whether we like to admit it or not, to, make new stars that, basically are virtual unknowns that nobody has seen outside of their own company. And a lot of people have pointed out that this is what makes WWE so different. That, they end up, basically creating stars that, eventually down the line would end up on the independents and in other companies, but are looked at still as WWE OGs, originals. And, that basically that's what we're getting here with them. And that's what we're seeing with people like Cora Jade. That's what we're seeing with people like Braun Breaker. That's what we're seeing with people like Imperium. That's what we're seeing with people with Carmelo Hayes. And the list goes on. Mandy Rose, for example. We'll see the Creed brothers. We're seeing this. We're seeing people that do have a bit of wrestling background, very short stints on independence or international independence and all that. But, barely anybody really knows, and now they're going to get to know them, but, as WWE OGs, and that's what it looks like to me that WWE is trying to do. They're trying to forge their own identities with this 2.0, because again, as I was trying to say before the phone rang, what makes them different to an extent, is, basically, their reputation of creating stars that, again, nobody knows about, that maybe they've seen them before, but not really, and thus that opens the door for WWE to say, yeah, these are our characters, these are our stars, and we've trained them in our way, and guess what? They're some of the best out there. So, yeah, it definitely looks like to me that WWE is trying to forge their own identity with NXT 2.0 when it comes to the future of the company. Alright, on to topic number 5. Topic number 5 here, ladies and gentlemen, is Hasbro names new president in Chris Koch, that's his name, and announces they will not attend New York Toy Fair 2022. Now, if you're wondering who this Chris guy is, he was in charge of Wizards of the West Coast or something, or the East Coast. And apparently, Wizards of the East Coast or West Coast, whatever it was a division, was part of Hasbro. They were part of Hasbro to an extent to where Hasbro, from what I understand, was planning to sell them off to someone, to a company, a buyer, if you will, in China. And the president, Chris, if you will, I guess was okay with that. But now he's in charge of all Hasbro. Now, what's interesting about him being in charge of Hasbro is he's basically made a reputation of turning D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, and I think to an extent Magic the Gathering, into more wokeness. In other words, basically taking that woke agenda and culture and implementing it, into Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering and such. And people like Rodimus Primal, and I think even Neon at Clownfish TV, they kind of worry about this because, if, he can, put the wokeness into D&D or be responsible for the D&D wokeness and all that, or the wokeness being in D&D as well as in Magic to an extent, then what's to say he won't want to put it in G.I. Joe, Jem, My Little Pony, in Humanoids, what is it, ROM, if you will, Visionaries maybe, Micronauts, Transformers, the list could go on. Who's to say, My Little Pony, who's to say he won't want to, say, hey, let's make all these shows a little bit more woke. Who's to say he won't want to do that? And I think that's what worries a lot of people, but here's the thing, he can only do so much. Like a president could, have the final say in certain things, but it's the responsibility of others to make sure things go through. So I don't think we have to worry just yet about Chris's woke agenda influencing other Hasbro properties, when he becomes president on the 25th of February. And I say that date too because of the fact that not only does he become part of the board, become president and all that, but it also gives, Hasbro time to take him aside and say, look, we know you have your own thought process on doing things, but this is, we've been here a lot longer than you. We know what works. So if you want to succeed as president, you want nobody on your bad side, listen to what we have to tell you, take our advice, and, go from there. And I think that's what's going to happen. If you will. Now, speaking of Hasbro, they made the announcement that they will not attend the Toy Fair in New York City this year. Now, I don't know what the reasoning is. Some are assuming that maybe they don't have enough product just yet, or they're assuming maybe that, leaks get out when they're not supposed to. I don't know what the reasoning is. But yeah, Hasbro, as of right now, unless they change their mind, are not going to attend the New York City Toy Fair this year, where, it's known to be like one of the bigger toy fairs of the year, where a lot of companies get to show off with the next, generation of the next year's or that year's upcoming, catalog of toys for the company and certain franchises. But it seems like Hasbro's like, nope, we're not going to do that. They're going to hold off, and maybe they're going to wait to do the presentations and unveilings with their own things like the HasCon or something like that. So we'll see what they do. We'll see what happens. But if they change their mind and it gets announced that they will go, that's great. If not, I got a feeling they're going to wait till they do their own event to announce what's upcoming down the line and what is going to be unveiled for upcoming purchasing in the very near future. But yeah, it seems they're not going to attend the New York Toy Fair, and we'll see if that's a good thing or a bad thing for them in the future. Alright guys, on to the sixth and last topic. I actually asked something similar like this to John Campia one time, but the sixth and last topic is this, are quote-unquote after hours, that's what they're dubbed, or that's the name they've been given, are quote-unquote after-hours films and series on life support on premium cable channels / on-demand pay-per-view PPV. And again, after hours, in case you guys are not aware of what that name means when it comes to cable networks and stuff, basically that's the nickname given to adult films and series. And I'm talking XXX, I'm talking, you know, you go on the internet and you find some of these websites, these video uploading sites for adults and all that. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. That's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And the reason I asked the question of whether or not it's on life support is it seems that only certain channels, from what I understand, from what people have told me, like Showtime, to an extent Cinemax somewhat, still, the movie channel, which is part of Showtime, I think Epex at one time had it. A lot of these places, still, used to, and still, when it comes to Showtime and the movie channel and a few others, they still showcase after hours adult films, and I mean very graphic adult films, if you know what I'm saying. And what I've noticed over the past, several years, from what people have pointed out to me, is there's been a decrease in a lot of these presentations. Like, Cinemax, from what I understand, under SkinMax, they no longer have that. They still have some of the adult stuff, but not as much as they used to, if at all. Epex used to have it. They don't have it anymore. HBO, to an extent, not anymore. So now you have just Showtime and the movie channel, and by extension, some of the on-demand pay-per-view channels. But it seems that as time goes on, less and less of these after-hour adult films and shows are leaving. They are leaving. Even through the on-demand offerings and everything, from what people have told me, they are leaving through that as well. And the reason they're leaving, the reason I think we're seeing less of these show up, and we're seeing them leave and make room for more, mainstream movies and shows and everything that still offer that kind of stuff, to kind of move the story along and all that, but not much. The reason we're seeing a lot of these after-hour things disappear and not be showcased as much anymore is because, as John Campia answered to my question a couple months ago, basically, you have, like I mentioned, you have the internet. So why bother to watch something on, like, let's say, late night Showtime or on-demand Showtime under the after-hours categories or whatever? Why watch it there when you can watch it at any time through the internet? I'm just saying, why watch it through cable channels, premium channels, when you could just watch it through the internet? I'm just saying. So, the question is, are they on life support? I think they are. I really do. A lot of people pointed out that some of the expiration dates for these go from this year to next year, and they don't say any more expiration dates after that. And from what people have said, they've looked around, they haven't heard of anything new coming, and if it does, it's few and in between. So the question is asked, is it on life support? I think it is. And I think it's only a matter of time before, not just, cable premium channels like Showtime and the movie channel and others, basically nullify these after-hour, categories on the on-demand portions of the channels, but also nullify the presentation of them late at night on the channels, like when people are supposed to be in bed and all that. I see that happening very soon too, to the point that, again, people are going to be left with only one option, that being the internet. And I could also see it happening to the on-demand stuff, because when you scroll through on-demand, let's say you want to get ready to order a boxing match or a wrestling event, some of the things they show before, some of the names they give you that they show before, yeah, I could see some of that stuff going away very soon too for more mainstream offerings down the line. So yeah, I do think it's on live support when it comes to premium channels and on-demand pay-per-view channels. I really do. I really do. But we'll see what happens. Maybe things will change. Maybe, you know, there might be a renaissance, you know, a resurrection. You know, who knows? But I seriously doubt it. I think right now what I look at is we are in the final years of the after-hours on-demand presentations and offerings, as well as the after-hours broadcasting and all that, and you know, on-demand services through pay-per-view. I think we're in the final. I think we're in the final years, and I would not be surprised that before 2025, if not sooner, all of that goes away, and your only recourse to watch that, if you want to, or that kind of stuff, is going to be the internet. I won't be surprised at all. Okay, guys, so that's about it for today's TGIF for January 7th, 2022. Topics on my mind. Thank you all for joining me on this. Again, I know I wanted to do one live, didn't get a chance to do it, but hey, this going into premiere, consider it being live. I think you'll enjoy it that way as well. But until next time, guys, I will talk to you all later. Take care. God bless. Check out the Teespring store. Check me out at BW Rose's Discussions on all your favorite audio podcast locations, except for Pandora. I am close to 300 podcasts. This will be one of them. So check that out. Also, check me, and also if you're listening to the podcast on Anchor.fm, listener support is activated if you want to help support me there. And if you're listening to the podcast through other podcast affiliates like Amazon and Spotify, you can also have options of video and audio, so check that out. And also, check me out at BW Roses on VENMO. Check me out at patreon.com to support me with a $1 or $3 tier. I want to give a shout out to Daniel Turner, who is doing that. Thank you, Daniel Turner, for your donation. $1, that's great, helps out. If you want to be like Daniel and do that, that'd be great. I am considering a $5 tier very soon for Q&As, but you know, that's something I'm still considering, and if I make that announcement, you'll see it here. And also check me out at VENMO at Brian-Walmer-2 to help donate there as well. So until next time, guys, thank you all for watching, and I am out.